Well, I'm working on a project that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I think I mentioned the other day that I had bought a film scanner, or actually it's a negative film scanner, and this is what it looks like. Hopefully you can see this. It's called a Kodak Scanza, and what it does is it takes your film negatives and you run them through here, and it actually takes a picture of them. There's a little light source in there and it projects on the screen, and you push the save button and it saves it to an SD card that you can download to your computer and do whatever you want to with later. And it's really cool. It works great. I didn't have a whole lot of high expectations for it, but I have to say it's definitely exceeded my expectations. So and the thing about it is I've got thousands of pictures and negatives that we've accumulated over the years, and I don't know that I'm going to scan every single one of them, but I found that when you scan an actual photograph, particularly if it's printed on glossy paper, it doesn't really turn out that well, and you can't really do a lot with it afterward because the resolution is not real good. So I've already discovered that using or scanning the negatives is a much better way to do that. Now there are better film scanners on the market, but you're looking at thousands of dollars potentially, and it's really designed for a commercial application. This is really an excellent little product, and it's designed just for an individual to use, kind of like what I'm doing now. So this box here is typical of one of the boxes of pictures that we've saved over the years, and I've tried to organize them by year, and they're all in their little packs with the negatives and everything. So that's what I've been kind of slowly going through to scan these, and basically it's to preserve them for one thing, and also so that I can process them in my computer, which in and of itself is like a really powerful darkroom. So I just wanted to take a video and show you how you do it, and maybe give you an example of how it turns out on the computer. So hope you enjoy the video. So here we go. When I was in college back in Louisiana, I studied commercial photography, and basically I saved all of my negatives in binders like this, and then later when I was shooting 4x5 inch film, I would save them in sleeves and in boxes. And kind of what I'm doing today is going through some of the pictures. They're mostly black and white from back when I was at Northwestern State University, and these are all pictures I took in response to different assignments. And so back then you would pick out one or two of the best images. I might shoot 2 or 3 rolls of film of one assignment, and then you would have to pick the best ones because it was such a tedious process to print negatives in a darkroom, and plus it was kind of an expensive thing, and at that time I was a poor college student, and so I tried to be very frugal on my supplies like paper and all of that. And so I really was very hypercritical on my images, and a lot of the images I gave them a once over and just completely rejected them and just tried to pick the best ones. But one of the neat things about scanning these now, I'm discovering that a lot of these weren't really as bad as I thought they were originally, and so I'm actually kind of excited to get these in the computer later and see what I can really do with them. And the neat thing about it is, back then dust was probably a photographer's worst enemy. And if you had dust spots on your negative, there were things you could use to clean them, but if you missed something and you printed it and there was a dust spot, it would take hours with a little brush and some this ink stuff to retouch the image and to touch out those spots. And on a computer, you can just, with one click, you can get rid of it and you'd never know it was there. So I really find that exciting. And so I've already noticed there are some dust marks and a few scratches here and there, because these pictures were taken, these particular ones were taken in 1987, and I've wagged them around over the years through probably a dozen or more moves in the Army, and I'm just amazed that they survived, and I'm just kind of having a lot of fun going through them and scanning them. So hopefully this will show up. But essentially you've got a little cartridge, and the kit comes with several different cartridges, and then this one is for film negatives. There's one for slides, there's one for smaller film, and then one for medium format film. So and so you just turn it on, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but there's a series of steps you need to go to make sure you're on the right setting. And I've got this one set for black and white images. And so you just turn the camera button on, and then you slide the film into the carrier. You just be careful, you don't want to scratch your negatives, but it goes in pretty good. So then all you do is you just push the photo button, and in about 2 or 3 seconds it scans the picture and it puts it on the SD card that's in the back of the device. So I've already gone through several hundred images, and it's just really a breeze. I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick this up. This is kind of weird. I don't know, I've never noticed this before, but there's a double exposure on this negative. It'll be interesting to see what that is all about when I get into the computer. But it's just amazing, the quality of the image straight from the negative is just absolutely stunning, compared to when you're scanning the actual print. So it's really cool. Okay, I tried to zoom in a little closer, see if it'll pick up on the video. Hopefully it does. It's really kind of cool, and I'm just really enjoying going through these old pictures. It's really a simple process. The only thing you really have to focus on is making sure that you get the image. You can see right there, that's the gap between the one frame and the next, and you want to make sure you want to get it exactly where it needs to be, like that. It's not really that big a deal though. This is a girl that was a student at the Louisiana School for the Math, Arts, and Sciences, which is on the campus of Northwestern State University. And the assignment was to photograph, a dancer, a performer, musicians, that sort of thing. And I was very fortunate to be able to get on to the campus of this school, and I got to know some of the instructors there, because they would come perform at Northwestern, and then got permission to photograph some of the dancers, and most of these turned out really nice. So these are some negatives from my school days also, and hopefully you can see this on the screen. But this assignment was to shoot a self-portrait, and this is kind of a cool shot, I think. But this is a picture of me as I was out splitting firewood. So I think that's kind of really cool, and it kind of shows you some of the tools of the trade that we used. That was what they call a big monster maul. And I'm really kind of excited to get this on the computer to see what it looks like. So a long history of cutting and splitting firewood. Back then it was all by hand. Just really fascinated by these pictures. They're over 30 years old, and it's the first time I've seen them in decades. It's just really awesome. This is our niece Amanda Rose when she was a little kid. These are just treasures for sure. Alright, I've got this album that I was working on done, so I'm going to turn this off and then pull the card out just a regular SD card. Pop it in the computer, and I'm going to create a file so I know where these are all at. Got the folder created. I just got to go in here and copy all those pictures off that SD card. And put them in my folder. It's pretty cool, and I'm going to show you after a while how I process them. That should do it. Alright, and hopefully this will show up on the camera, but now that I've got the negative digitized and in the computer, I just want to show you real quick my process for developing the pictures that I post and different things. So this is a picture of Lisa, probably from about 1986, at her house. This is before we got married. I'm not sure whose cat that is, but there's no telling. But the first thing I typically do is open it up, and this is Photoshop Elements. I've got 2 or 3 other programs I use depending on what I'm trying to do or the quality of the image. So the first thing I want to do is crop it. I'm going to crop this as a 5:7. Pretty close right there, I think. One of the cool things about digitizing your negatives, I think I may have mentioned it before, but you can fix a lot of the problems that you couldn't fix before with the negative, or if you did fix them, it was very, very tedious and time consuming. So basically, you probably can't see it, but right here and then right there, there's a couple of lines, probably scratches on the negative, and Elements has got a spot healing tool that you can use to fix those, and what it does is it kind of samples the surrounding area, and you just draw a line through the defect, and it just makes it disappear, which is really cool. I mean, if this were a real film negative and I was working on a print, it would take me hours to make those corrections. And you can change the size of the brush if you got like little dust specks here and there. So it's pretty neat. Here's a pretty good size speck there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but all you got to do is just put the cursor over it and click it, and it's gone. Pretty neat. So then I want to kind of adjust the exposure a little bit. So right here you got a lot of dark shadows, so I typically will lighten those up and bring a little bit of detail into the shadow. I don't want to go too far here. And then over here you got some really washed out highlights. There's not really much you can do about that, but I try to tone those down a little bit. Okay, that just kind of softened a little bit. You can just see a little more detail in the carpet, and it's just a little softer overall. So I think that's about right. That's about where I want it. And I see another spot I want to fix. All right, I think I'm done with this one. And now I've got some other software that I typically will take it in to fix some of the tonal issues, and if it was a slide or color image, fix the color and contrast and all of that. But this is as far as I'm going to take this today. So but anyway, that's a quick shot of how this new film scanner works. Hope you enjoyed the video. So we'll see you next time.